Okay, well, we are on, and hello, hello. I'm here with Audrey Scott Williams, a wonderful friend and spiritual director. And well, you're many things, Audrey, many, many things. And I know you just are saying you're very excited to be here, and this is great. I'm excited. We've talked about doing this a long time.
We have, and I'm so happy that we finally were able to find matching times to make it happen.
Yay, yay, yay. So, wow, I know that you are just a real powerhouse, just bubbling all the time with many, many things. So tell us, who is Audrey Scott Williams?
Oh, I am a being that is here on the planet to have every experience that I can access. And in the process, my prayer is that always making the world a better place than it was. I mean, it's always perfect, but in our humanness to help make this world a place that not only works for all, but elevates all.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so good. And I know you've been on this journey for a long time. I don't know if there's a particular place that you want to start, but I know wherever you start, we're going to go in a big circle. So why don't you just start by wherever you would like us to go?
Wow. Well, let's see. I guess, I have to give honor to my mom specifically, but my family in general, but especially my mom. I was one of those strange, weird little kids that she'd come in the room at midnight. I'd be standing in the crib when I was little, looking out the window at the stars, or would have an intuitive knowing at some age that things were going to happen before they happen. And somehow mom made that normal for me. She made that a valued part of who I was, rather than trying to change me or make me something different. So I always say that mom was my greatest teacher. Because of that, I believe that it's so important that we open the gateway for our children to hear their dreams, to hear their intuitive side, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and how they are experiencing the world around them. I think those conversations are very valuable. They were certainly valuable to me as I grew up, and my mother was always a safe haven where I could go to just be free to express what I was seeing and feeling, and all of that. So that's where I would begin, Debbie, and that was sort of the deep roots. Yeah.
I never knew that
Yeah.
about you. I never knew that you had that experience, and that you had such a mile marker of a supportive person who really did not try to tell you that didn't exist or not to do that. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. She was, she encouraged the dreamer, the intuitive aspect of myself. And that led us down many different paths together. And so I had an opportunity to learn. She was always feeding me books that kind of matched my intellectual side, but also my intuitive side, my spiritual side. And so that was my grounding. And from there, it was sort of this, I guess you could say, life taught us many lessons, showed me many things. My parents were, because they were so active in the civil rights movement, it gave me insight into passion. It gave me insight into standing up for what you believe to be true. And then going forward to that actually framed, those two things framed my early childhood experiences with my mom's support, and being a child in the midst of the civil rights movement. As they were leaders in the movement, it made my brother and I on the front line. So those two things kind of became the anchor, my pursuit of my spiritual evolvement, and valuing what comes intuitively, and the quest for justice, for peace, for human rights and environmental rights. All of that that really set the tone for me. So I think that by the time I was 10, my life projection was pretty predictable.
That's
But I did
fascinating.
have my normalcy.
Your normalcy.
Yeah. I did have my normalcy, graduating high school, going on to college and
Okay.
grad school, and
Hmm.
the career track. And then
Hmm.
one day I woke up. I was a dean of the college, and I woke up that morning and I knew that my life was about to change. That I was given the opportunity to pursue all these things and to excel, but then it was time now for me to do the work that I was here to do. Yeah.
Wow. I just I keep hearing this story in a different way from different people. And it's wonderful. It's no accident that great minds are sharing this story, this very story of waking up and there's another whole level. And yet it doesn't sound like you had to fight with yourself along the way about, well, is this intuition? Or you knew, it sounds like you knew to trust yourself at
I
some.
did, Debbie. I have these, I call them the grandmothers, my little angels that have followed me from at very early age. And I remember in college asking them to go away because I wanted to be like everybody else. I was pretty young when I went to college, and that was a hard in itself. And they did. They would just be on the periphery, but I knew that someday they were going to come back, and when they did, whatever I was here to do, it would be time to then shift gears. But I was hoping to put it off a little longer. And but nevertheless, when I got that call, I knew that it was time.
So you woke up and you had no idea before that morning. I mean, there was like a debate going on, or you just woke up with a sudden new, unattached to everything else, a new knowing.
Well, actually, there were some precursors. I always say when spirit wants you to do something, you first get that gentle voice
Mm-hmm.
that whispers in your ear. You don't listen, then you get kind of a knock on the door, and you don't listen, then you hit the brick wall. And I hit the brick wall. I had actually had a heart attack, and
Oh,
it
yes.
was a mild heart attack. I call it my heart awakening,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so it was time to reevaluate. So it was like, now we have your attention. This is what you're going to do.
So
Okay.
you woke up from that, or kind of following that with a knowing that it was a real turning point.
Right.
That's so fascinating. And so
Exactly.
what did you
Mhm.
feel that you were led to do?
I was not sure exactly what the thing was or what was. What I was sure is that I had to walk away from the college that I had. I was starting a new journey,
Mhm.
kind of like Joseph Campbell's, the fool stepping off the mountain or off the cliff. And find my way to exactly what it was that I was supposed to do. Ironically, within a couple of days of resigning, um, I was called to work on a production of film production with an elder who was coming over from Africa at 100 and I think she was 103 at the time, to do a ceremony in South Carolina, on one of the outer islands, it's part of a reconciliation for the way Africans were brought to America to greet the native peoples of the Americas and ask permission on their behalf for them to have been here, and then to begin the work of building peace. So that call came within a couple of days. I immediately knew that's what my path was, and there were a lot of funny stories of things that happened to try to prevent me from going. But nevertheless, I arrived, and my life fundamentally changed from there on. I was very clear that it was time to look at the world in a different way, to look through my heart rather than my eyes, and be an instrument for peace.
So even though there were certain little things that I guess almost like to try to tempt you and see if you would go off track again, you knew you had something
Yes.
else to follow. And my guess is, even as a dean, you had a lot of heart, but you didn't have as, it doesn't sound like you had as much support to go in that heart direction.
Well, we were making a lot of, bringing a lot to the college that hadn't been there before, and that work
Hmm.
was going very well.
I'm
And
sure
there
it
was a
was.
team that could support the continuation of that work. But walking, what came out of that was walking for peace, walking for justice, walking for the environment. And that was something that I never ever would have thought would be my path. But nevertheless, that's what happened. There were a series of events, from that event coming back. I started writing in the middle of the night. These writings would come and
Oh.
sketches and all kinds of things. And it
Mm.
ended up being a book. And that led me to doing a 21-day silent retreat in the mountains of West Virginia. And then after that, it was
Mm.
clear what the rest of my life was. It was about organizing for change. And the change is change in our hearts. So,
Yes.
the heart awakenings that allow
Yes.
us to see beyond difference, because really, in truth, there is no difference, there is no separation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at that God source, at that seed level, we're just expressions, not just, we are mighty expressions of the divine. And we come in all shapes and sizes and colors and with different gifts, sometimes with different challenges. And all of that helps us see the world exactly the way we are to see it, and make the imprint that we are meant to make in this great sea of infinite, possibilities, the infinite divine that is just seeking expression. And so I guess for me, the avenue that was chosen was walking and helping, well, going deeper and deeper myself in my own growing and learning, and also trying to be an example of that in terms of as we walk through countries, we walk through communities, not coming in to try to do something or change something, but just being, just being.
Mm-hmm. Just like, yeah, holding space, it sounds like, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing that presence. So was this organized walk, or I mean, how did this get planned? How did this take come about? Or
Well, I've done about 6 walks. Every one of them began with a dream. I was in Wales back in 1998, and I was there for the coming together of flames that had been lit by indigenous people on each continent. Those flames were flown into Wales, and that's a whole story in itself. How, flying a
mm,
flame on a plane. And
wow.
the military, actually, the Dutch military helped make that possible. Anyway, I was there where those flames were brought together as a symbol of peace. It's an eternal flame that's still burning in The Hague. It'll burn forever. Um, and after that ceremony, walking back to where we were staying, we were up in Snowdonia, so there's not a lot of lights. There's a lot of, the sky is tremendous, and there was a full moon, and I was given the guidance to do this, to go back home and walk for my ancestors for peace and reconciliation, and to walk a reverse of the Underground Railroad and the Trail of Tears. So that began the first walk. I had no idea what I was doing. I would put the word out, and there ended up being 5 walkers who walked with me, and 7 in and out, in a ground team. And we started in Friendly, Pennsylvania, near Gettysburg, actually. And we started on the Appalachian Trail and worked our way down. From there, I thought that was it. It was over. What a wonderful experience. It was about 63 days of walking
Oh my
with everything we needed
gosh.
on our backs. Um, And I thought that was it. And about a year later, oh no, at the very last point that we were as a team together was in a cave in Georgia. And we were
Mm.
sitting there just reflecting back on our journey. And all of a sudden, this beam of light came in. And with this beam of light, we all got a message that we were to go to Africa. And
Mm.
so 2 years later, we headed to Africa and we did prayers and reconciliation work in the slave dungeons and walked from the forests in Ghana to the door of no return. I think we left at like 4 o'clock in the morning and arrived in the village of Abanzi around 12 noon or so that day, and had a tremendous welcome. We were shocked
Oh
from the
my
elders
gosh.
and the community there. Yeah, so that was our first
Beautiful.
two, and then the next one we had, yeah, we had a gathering with young people and elders from around the world a couple of years later, and at the end of that night before, I had a dream that to set out on a walk around the world, and so the rest is history.
Oh,
And
now,
it was organized in the sense that I had a very clear route given in the dream,
oh
and
gosh.
we so everything was pretty much together. But what we didn't have, Debbie, it wasn't like there was a textbook that taught us how to do this.
Well,
So the
that's what I'm
first part of the walk,
thinking.
we had to move. Yeah, yeah,
Even like,
yeah.
I mean, if you got tired, were you in shape for that? Did you take breaks when you felt like you needed? How did that, I mean, eating, resting,
Yeah.
just
Well,
amazing.
actually, yeah, we had my mom with us. So the night before, everything happened just magically. The night before, an elder called and said, "I bought an RV for you all. Mama Nat has to have an environment that can be conducive for her." And so that became our ground crew. So we would walk usually from 7 to 10 hours a day.
Oh,
And there would be one person that always stayed back with mom, and they prepared the meals for when we got back, took care of mom, did the laundry. And so then we would get in, we'd route the next day and, get a shower, relax, and then start out usually around sunrise. We do a sunrise ceremony and then hit the road.
so the RV somebody would bring the RV to where you were going to end up at the end of that day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes we wouldn't change the location. They would come
Okay.
pick us up, bring us back to the RV because, you're only going to walk so many miles. So
Hmm.
because we didn't want to use so much gas, we only moved it after we passed, I think it was 50 miles. When we got 50 miles out, then we moved the RV.
Wow, that's incredible. So you would walk and you would feel prompted to go to certain places or talk to people along the way?
Yes, we talk to people. People would hear about us. Sometimes we'd be walking and here'd come a media crew or a group would blow the horn and want to know what we're doing, and then they'd invite us to the church or they'd invite us out on their ranch to help out doing some
Mm,
projects. We worked at food banks. We really believed in service, so we were always seeking opportunities to be in service in the communities that we walked through.
that is just so beautiful. That is just incredible. And I mean, how did your feet feel? And were you having to build up to it to be in shape? Or you just kept getting more I mean, walking is a non-invasive kind of way to get exercising. So,
Yeah, actually walking, if you just start walking and you do what you can,
mhm.
and you build that over time, the body kind of aligns itself. You do have to watch out because we went through all kinds of terrains, you have to be careful about your hips and your knees, so there are certain exercises you do. The greatest threat to a walker is blisters.
Yeah.
So we had a rule: if you have a blister starting on your foot, you couldn't walk that
Okay.
next day. You had to treat that
Okay.
because they can get out of hand pretty. Hmm.
So
But
there
we've had funny stories, Debbie. We were
good.
in Palenque, down in the jungles in Mexico, and when we got ready to leave, all of our shoes had been consumed with mold. We had to throw all of our shoes away. So the only thing we had to walk with were flip-flops for a while until we, or our sandals until we were able to get shoes again. So funny things always happen along the way.
Was it money or was it, I mean, because you put probably all your savings or anything you had into all this, right?
Yes, all the walkers, just we all lived off what we could bring in from our own sources. So yes, we invested of ourselves, which really was not enough to get us around the world. If you think of
Hmm.
a team of 7 at this point going around the world with visas and you know you know all the requirements to move from one country to another, and sometimes we'd fly, sometimes we'd take a train, whatever we had to do to get to certain
Oh, I
places.
wondered. Okay.
And
Okay.
so it was quite yeah, yeah. But people, we had a website with a link to our PayPal account, and people would hear our
Oh,
story. And
that's
so we made it
beautiful.
like $10, $100, whatever people could give. It would just be in the account when we needed it.
Oh, that is beautiful. So you walked together, did what you did
Yes.
together. And when you were doing that, I mean, were you singing, chanting, talking, just all different things while you
Yeah,
walked?
we would sing. We'd love to sing, but you know, when you really get your gait, you don't do a lot of talking because
Okay.
that takes your oxygen. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
that's true.
you
That
kind
many.
of yeah, you
Wow.
kind of slip into a zone. When you That's what I call it when you're walking. Get into this place where you don't even, you're just moving, and your mind is you're not even really that conscious of what you're doing. You're just one with everything, I guess,
Hmm.
would be the best way to play it say it. We always say
Sure.
you enter the zone.
Yeah,
And
sure. Yeah.
every Wednesday was a silent day, so
Mm.
we walked in silence on Wednesdays.
Oh, that is
But other than
beautiful.
that, you know, we were just
Hmm.
really intent on meeting our destination.
So you said you have a book. Was that before or after the walk?
Oh, that was before. That was after my
Oh.
experience in South Carolina. Things started to shift, and I
Mm.
just took there were like 93 days, I believe, and these things that happened in these 93-day period, and I would just write about them. And it was like teachings from the grandmothers coming in, and the book was called The Diary of Now Time Prophecy.
We need to have your book. The church needs to be having your book out there for sale. I've never really heard of
Yeah, I
this.
think we
Yeah.
sold out. Yeah, we sold out, but I didn't reissue.
Hmm.
So that might be something I'll consider in the future. Yeah.
Sure.
It's
Wow.
very
Okay.
metaphysically oriented.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So,
Mhm.
okay, so you left education, you came into all this, and what a sense of mission, what a sense of just really waking up every day with that kind of passion.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. You have to have passion. You have to have
Hmm.
passion to do that. Sometimes the passion is the fuel, you know?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
you had your mom with you. That's beautiful too.
Yes.
That's really incredible. And wow. So, okay. So, how long did the walk take?
The
Going
World
around the world?
Walk took almost 40, yeah, it took about 3.5 years. A little over 3.5 years. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
And we were able to go on 6 continents. We didn't go down to Antarctica. We were close, but we didn't go down there because we felt the penguins had everything under control there. Uh, so we concentrated on the 6 continents. We weren't always sure we were going to make all 6 because of money, because of, you know, towards the end you start getting a little exhaustion and you know, so but we made it. We did it. Mhm.
So, how did Dothan figure into all this? Was that at all? Wasn't some of that before that walk, or was it all after? I don't have
Uh,
that.
Dothan came about afterwards. I had
Hmm.
friends who lived in Cottonwood, who were incredible healers and naturopaths. live foodists. Actually, they had been live foodists for 40 years, which was unheard of, really. I mean, they really pioneered a lot. And so they were elders. They invited us down to come visit them, and then we just kept coming back and coming back. And finally, the house across the street for them was made available. The person moved, and it wasn't in the best of shape, but we thought it was perfect environment for us, a perfect house, and we moved down. And so we moved down to Cottonwood, and when we did, we actually found the Dothan Unity Church is what we saw. I think there was a sign that said Unity back in those early days.
Right.
And we saw that on one of our visits. And we went to the church before we moved down, and before we even knew we were moving down. And then when we moved down, we sort of had a place that we went back to. We went back to that, and then we just stayed there. It became our church home, and that was very critical for us, being able to make that total transition to be residents here in Southern Alabama.
Yeah, of all the places in the world, that's what you chose. That's interesting.
That's what everybody says. That's the number one question we get. How did you go all the way around the world and end up in Southern Alabama?
How do you answer that?
So we say shining light in dark places.
And
by that, we don't mean that I don't mean that this is a dark place. It just means that there are, a generational healing that needs to happen. And so we get to shine the light into that in a loving way that can allow transformation to happen. That is our prayer.
Sure. Well, and I think there's a lot here. I mean, Dothan does not feel real rural like some people might think. There's a ton here that happens. It's just and of course you are a huge part of making that even more possible.
Oh, well, thank you, Debbie.
Well, I know you're up to all kinds of interesting things. You ran for office and
Yes,
and became spiritual director. And how do you see all of that now?
Oh, what a beautiful things coming to full circle. Being the spiritual director of the Spiritual Enrichment Center here in Dothan is a real honor for me in the sense that I get to bring to the church some of the experiences that I've had, some of the things that we've learned along the way in terms of weaving community. But, the church, the center, the Spiritual Enrichment Center, has such an incredible attraction for people of like mind and like hearts. And even though we may have different paths that got us there, that it is that has made the center an incredible place to be. And under the leadership of the founder, Reverend Glenda Davis, it was nurtured to be what it is now. And so now we get to go even deeper. And I think that we really are, you hear me say it every Sunday, I think that we are really a lighthouse for our community and a model of inclusivity and an appreciation for people of all, no matter where you come from, no matter what your challenges and opportunities have been, no matter your race, your gender, just we don't look at difference as a defining aspect of who you are. We look at what's in the heart. And I think that is such a model to continue to grow and to evolve. And so that's one of the beautiful opportunities that I see the Spiritual Enrichment Center holds for all of us. And now being the director gives me personally an opportunity to go deeper with my own evolution, with my own, how do I say it? I'm learning so much and feeling so much love, and that's just feeding me in all kind of places. So we're going to do exciting things. I like this idea of radical inclusivity. I like this idea of of celebrating love, celebrating it in the community. And I think that our center is a very special, special, special diamond in our communities.
Well, and so that must have come as a huge surprise. Did that come as a big surprise after going down the political path?
Of course it did.
I
There was
bet.
nothing. There was nothing to prepare me that Reverend Glenda was going to say, I really want to resign. Would you be willing to step into these shoes? And I really appreciate her for that. I have to say, I was numb, and numb as in awe,
Yeah,
being so much in
sure.
awe, and then trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? What do I do? How do I honor what is here, and how do I breathe into it that which I feel that is there for me to do at this time, and what will people think? And you know what? I think we're doing well,
Oh,
and
definitely. Oh,
forward,
yeah.
forward is the motion.
But did it kind of crystallize like, gee, maybe this is why I didn't win on the political scene? Did it kind of like put that into a different perspective?
There was a lot going on. My partner was going through a major healing crisis. The campaign was over, and then Glenda gave me this opportunity. So there was a lot. There was a lot going on. A lot of, you might say, tension in the sense of what's coming out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what it did for me is gave me a place to land, gave me a place to work out of both of those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and find my own stride again. I didn't run necessarily to win, but it was so important for me that issues that were of great concern for our community were addressed in the political process, became a part of the political platform. And so that was the most important thing. And so I wasn't really devastated by not winning so much as I was exhausted
I
from,
bet.
from
I
the
bet.
political process.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
yeah.
I felt very good about what we were able to achieve. My goal is to work and cultivate young people, but sometimes you got to get out there and kind of follow that track yourself first before you can begin to work with young people. So now my goal is let's cultivate the new leadership for Alabama by identifying these young people and really getting behind them and supporting them politically and any other kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
creatively, whatever it is that's in their heart. So that's my passion.
That's
I hope I
beautiful.
answered your question. I
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
went all over
yeah.
the place,
Well,
but
no, that's okay. And, I mean, to me, and it may not have been how you perceived it, but when you didn't win, I mean, I was like, darn, I really wanted you to win. But this seemed to come up almost like a few weeks after that. And I was like, wow, I guess Spirit was showing that Spirit had something else in mind. Because if you had won and then Glenda had resigned, I'm not sure what if, I don't know that you would have done both, you know. I mean, it just like this.
no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do both. And this is really where my heart is. So I have graciously surrendered to be exactly where I feel that I'm supposed to be. And when I say surrender,
Mm-hmm.
what I meant by that is letting go of, I think if the worst thing that probably could have happened is that I did win, it
Mm-hmm.
would have sent me on a different track,
Yeah.
and very similar to what I was in when I left in the first place. But here I get to live out my passion, and I get to do it in a community where it's not just my passion, it's a collective dream that we're weaving. And I'm just really excited to see where we go with this.
Well, you bring
You know,
so
our center to me is very,
yeah.
yeah, our center is very special.
You
Hmm.
bring so much wonderful energy to it all the time, and it's so genuine. And I could really see you also connecting with young people. And, are you doing anything with, aren't you doing some things at Troy or
Yes.
yeah.
Well, actually, we are planning a major event. We're bringing a young person. Well, I call him young. He's in his 30s. That's young to me. We're bringing him down, Jabari, to do some inspirational talks and sharing his gifts and talents. And we've had tremendous uh, um, support from the community in the sense that he'll be talking to over 1,200 children,
Oh,
or
that's
I should say young adults at the
mm-hmm.
Dothan Preparatory Academy.
Okay.
And he's going to be, yeah, he's actually going to be speaking and performing at the Spiritual Enrichment Center on Wednesday night on the 20th of November. And then he'll be, sort of one of the guests of the drum circle. It's the
Mm-hmm.
uh, first anniversary of the Dothan area drum circle, and they are going to be featuring him. The street's going to be closed off over on Foster Street.
Wow.
And so this is attracting a lot of attention from the young people, and at the center of that is the Spiritual Enrichment Center. So I just
Fabulous.
want to do more things like that, so our young people know how important they are to us, and we can start attracting more youth coming to our center and getting involved with the center.
Fabulous. Fabulous. And are you also, I know, aren't you at Troy as well? Are you teaching over there or something? I don't remember if there's some.
No, no, no. I don't teach there. We do have a member of our congregation who is a professor there, but no, no, no.
Okay.
I go sometimes to speak to groups, but not. I'm not a professor there.
No. Okay. Well,
Most of my other work outside of the Spiritual Enrichment Center centers with the United Religions Initiative, where I'm a global trustee.
okay.
So between that and the Spiritual Enrichment Center, I think I'm my time is pretty full, and we have a movement that has been adopted by the Spiritual Enrichment Center as a program under the foundation called 20 Million Women Strong, and
That's
we
right.
are working and linking with women's groups around the world. We kind of have this vision that 20 million is that tipping point that can surely shift uh, um, a lot of, just bridging that gap between around gender issues that are felt stronger in some places more than others, but there's certainly work that we have to do across the board in terms of the protection and love of our children, families, and the earth. And so women gathering together, it strengthens us as individuals, and it also helps us focus our energy into the areas that need healing as we work to make the world a better place for all.
What's next in that event? Are there other events or
Mhm.
venues planned?
Absolutely. On the 20th of November, we have planned our action days around the United Nations Global Action Days. So our first event happened on the International Day of Peace. Our second event is going to happen on the 20th of November when Jabari is here, and that is the Universal Day of Children, Universal
Mm,
Children's Day, and that's about the rights of children globally. And we'll have an event here in Dothan. We'll also have an event happening in New York City where we have a lot of artists who are coming together, the United Nations and the Parliament of the World Religions together to do a program that evening. And we may be doing a program in a school that day as well. And then we are also going to be, I think it's around the 25th, which is the day of ending violence against women. We'll be doing a project in Houston, Texas.
25th of November? 25th
Yes.
of, okay. Okay. Wow. That is great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it'll just keep going on and on, and but it's a beautiful, gentle way of it's an organic movement, and that's what I really like about it. Very much as we are centered in the Spiritual Enrichment Center, there's this organic movement, and honoring that part of the movement, not trying to make something happen, but just allowing the energy and space for the divine to work through us all.
Yeah, when I hear you say organic, I think yes, because it's alive from within. It's alive from the roots. It's not being, genetically modified, genetically engineered from outside. Wow.
That's
Oh.
a great analogy. Thank you, Debbie. And I want to thank you also, Debbie, making this transition into this position. You've played a tremendous role, probably more than you realize, with your love and support and stepping in there in so many ways, especially in delivering talks and just being your divine self. And I just want to let you know how supportive that has been for me.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor for me because that just speaks to that sense of ministry that's within me. And I think I wanted you to know that part of what has meant the most in all of that is not only the opportunities to get up and speak, but to collaborate with you and share ideas and brainstorm, and for you and Karen and Des and myself to all come together and plan, and working behind the scenes has meant a lot. And when we haven't been able to do that, I've missed it. So, I mean, I know that there are pockets, and I know we'll have those opportunities again, but all of that, it has been an honor and a privilege.
Well, we have to get back on it and plan a day. There's some things that we could probably work out really quickly if we plan a day and finalize some things, especially around, this whole concept with so much happening at SEC. We want everybody in the community to be asking, as Desi said, what's up at SEC? So I love that idea. We're working on getting that out, but I really think that we need to put our heads together and go ahead and get that in motion and look at how that can impact some of the things that we're doing. I certainly plan on some of the marketing material around Jabari will lead with that as one of the things that we've talked about. What's up at SEC, and here it is,
Well,
so
and this will be
I think
there,
that we should continue. Yeah, this will be out there, and because it really is about, it's not about me, it's about us and what we can do. I get to celebrate the part of me that I'm just tickled pink about being in the midst of, and I am well aware and have so much more joy when we can all bring our little buckets and sit in the sandbox together and create.
Yes. Well, you said, I know you've talked about doing radio and doing podcast. Are you also still doing that?
I've been trying to get back into it, Debbie. But with my schedule, I haven't been able to create a consistent flow where I could do that. I have the Now Time Radio still up, and it's running old material. But I really am considering what to do with that. Whether I'm going to keep it or whether I'm just going to flow with what's happening now and maybe be a part of other people's podcasts and radio.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was doing local FM radio here, but just the timing right now, I had to let that go.
All right. Okay. Well, so yeah, just any way that I can help you with any of that. I mean, I was going to go back into my podcast feed, and I've just been putting things more on YouTube and, putting links out to Facebook, and where it feels appropriate, adding it to ACB radio where I have different kinds of things going on. But, any way that you want some help with that, and if you need things to be shorter, longer, different format, etc., just, let me know. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Maybe we can have an SEC Day program once every now and then.
We sure can. Well,
Yeah.
is there
We could do
a what?
We could do a what's up at SEC podcast every now and then.
We sure could. We sure could. And, I think
Yeah.
it's great we're getting so many more hits from Facebook, more people seeing it live. I think that's excellent. And I, if you just look at the numbers that are seeing it during the actual live service, that's not fair, and I know and I'm glad you're putting those numbers out there that it's getting viewed, many other times, not even necessarily during service. So that's excellent.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else anything I didn't ask or any other road you want to go down that we didn't?
I think you've done a great interview. I think we've covered a lot of territory. I would just say that we have a great opportunity to continue to affect the world around us. So the thoughts we hold, the actions we take, the truth we speak
Mm-hmm.
and allow to be revealed is critical at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so always lead with love because that's what the world needs now. And sometimes people say, well, that's so trite. We hear that over and over. But that love, that agape love, is really a medicine for us all. And in the midst of hearing so much controversy, there's so much going on the planet
Mm-hmm.
that when you really resonate at that level of vibration, you just automatically begin to do the things to create wholeness in the world around you. And so I just want to leave with that message and say, let's do it together.
Let's do it together. I have to chuckle when you say that some people say, oh, that's trite, because my mother used to always say things like, well, you just need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you need rest, and you need to get out in the sunshine. And I would think, how boring, or you just need to be nice to people. And I would think, oh, yeah, 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 how boring. But it really is those simple, not always easy, but simple, basic truths that,
Mhm.
I think many of us grew up on hearing that sometimes some of us maybe want to put to the side and say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But like you said, it is that love. And I think the more we feel it, really feel it, the easier it is to come from that place. But it's not always easy.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
I always think of it, Debbie, as you think about plugging into something. Let's say you're trying to iron. You can plug into a whole lot of things that aren't going to give you anything, but you plug
Mhm.
into source, which is the
Oh,
electricity, and
right.
then you get the heat that you need to get rid of the wrinkles. So I
Hmm.
think
Beautiful.
it helps us to be mindful of what we're plugging into. If we want to get rid of the wrinkles, then let's plug into the right source that allows
Oh,
that to happen.
beautiful, beautiful metaphor. Beautiful metaphor. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this with me. And I will, let's see, let me get to where I don't have to, okay. I can stop this recording and I will make sure that you have the link. And so you can do whatever you wish with it.
Well, I thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Let me stop this recording.